was 1904 that Gordon Smith, he bought the bullock paddock and the cow paddock and Mulgowan. And then later he bought the Alum Rock paddock,
Yes.
which had been part of Parkdale. Later on, after we were married, Casham's was for sale. See, it joined Alum Rock, and his father said, "Oh, I think it'll be better if I bought it." Well, he bought it. We would have been 8.
When you first met him?
Yes. Didn't
Okay.
see him after that until he came home from the war.
Good, yeah.
And his parents came down to meet him, and they had a welcome home dinner at the Metropole in the hotel in Sydney. He was only 18 when he enlisted, and he landed on Gallipoli a month after the main landing, just to the day. He was sent to England sick. He'd had malaria and he'd had ulcerated sores, and then finally Clive was in the artillery in France, and Clive claimed him, and he was sent over to the artillery in France, and then finally was transferred back to Egypt. And that's where he was when the end of the war came. We were engaged in January 1920, and we were married in January 1921. He started to build the house as soon as I said I would have him, because he had nowhere to live. And at that stage he was living with Clive, who had married.
Yes.
And at Mulgowan. Our house was built on Alum Rock, which had nothing to do with Papa at that stage. Gordon owned it. But because of the big water hole, that's why Papa wanted to build there, to have water. And he was just a bush builder who came and did it. He had an outsider. Well, I think Papa's main job was to keep the material up to them. Papa had the most awful trouble with the teams. They had horse teams, or bullock teams, mostly horse teams. In those days, getting the timber out, and they'd get bogged and have to unload the timber and load it up again. And when I went there were ruts, I suppose nearly a foot deep, where the front lawn is now. He got all the bricks from Toowoomba. When the Prince of Wales was coming to Stanfield, he had a load of bricks in the railway yard, and they informed him he had to move those bricks before the Prince of Wales came. And he said he was quite sure the Prince of Wales would be very pleased to see a heap of good bricks.
You, as the young blushing bride, moved to Alum Rock. The house had just been built.
Yes, no fence round it.
Right.
It was just a house, no garden. Papa said to me, "What sort of a stove did I want?" Well, I didn't know anything about stoves. And I asked my grandmother, and she said, "Well, the best stove I ever had was a younger, but it's very hard on wood."
It burns a lot of it.
Yes. And I told Papa that, and he said, "Oh, wood's no object." But often he'd go away and leave me without wood, and I used to have to go and chop some. But for a long time I didn't have any steps out of the laundry door.
Did you jump?
Yes.
Grief.
And I used to bucket the water and throw it out. I had 3 round tubs like that had to be emptied per woman. and there was a copper in the corner, and nobody else in the district had a copper. They had a boiler outside. I was lucky. I had a copper. And if you wanted a hot bath, you would carry a bucket of water from the kitchen. Then finally we got a bath heater, a chip bath heater. When we first went to Alum Rock, we were just isolated because there were no roads to anywhere from us except, well, get to Stanthorpe as best you could.
And what was his motorbike like? What sort of motorbike?
Harley Davidson.
And you rode in the sidecar?
Yes. Well, after we got a car, we never went out without a pull-out with us in case we got bogged.
Yeah.
There were no roads, you see, they were only tracks.
Well, where did you have Mum?
In Tenterfield?
Tenterfield Hospital?
Yes. Papa drove me in the sulky.
To Tenterfield?
No, into Stanthorpe to get the train to Tenterfield.
Yeah.
Then I was met in Tenterfield. Of course, Papa was out in the bush, and the only way of letting him know that he had a daughter was to write to him. She was born on a Friday, and they sent a telegram, and he got it on the Saturday, and he came in on the motorbike. It was, about 10 o'clock at night when I could hear the motorbike coming. I can always remember he brought the motorbike right up to the hospital.
Where was John born?
Tenterfield.
Tenterfield again. How did you get down the same way? Train?
Oh, we had a car by that time.
When did you acquire that?
When your mother was a baby. A 1916 Buick. We would have had the telephone late 20s or early 30s.
Right.
And we had to put up posts and line ourselves. 9i, I think it was, the first one.
And you would get that on 3 shorts or 2 longs, or?
Yes, something, I think we were 3 short. Any time there was a storm, the telephone would go out, of course. First thing that had to be done was ride the line.
And the governesses, when did you get your first governess?
Well, 1932, I think. She was there for 2 years, and then Elizabeth went to school. And then I taught John for 2 years, God help me. I'd leave him with work to do and to go up to do something in the kitchen. Go back, and he wouldn't be there. He'd be up on the roof. He'd hear the sheep coming, hear the men bringing sheep, and he'd be up on the roof to see how far away they were.
What was the development of the stock at Alum Rock? You said it was initially all cattle, wasn't it, the sheep?
Well, there were sheep there when I went there. Of course, I didn't know anything about sheep. I'll never forget the first lamb that Papa brought up. He rode up and called out to me, "Will you hold this lamb while I go and get the shears and some dressing? It's fly-blown." That's the first fly-blown sheep I ever saw. And we didn't have a shearing shed at Alum Rock. All the sheep had to be taken down to Walter Chapel's, a place called Rockdale. Then in 1924, the year after John was born, I think, was the first shearing at Alum Rock.
And how were the prices over the time that you were there?
Well, I can remember when we got 12 pence a pound. We thought we were made. Well, we always got good prices. And when our share of the wool was £500, I felt we were millionaires. I thought, that's £10 a week.
At what stage and why did Papa decide to move from Alum Rock?
When John got married.
Did he have any regrets about it?
I don't think so.
He was happy to after.
Well, somebody said to me one time, you must have been terribly sad to leave Alum Rock and the garden that you'd made and everything. And I said, no. If John hadn't been going there, if a stranger had been going there, I would. But it was still in the family.